Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Jeremy, and in today's video we're going to cover the biggest money mistakes you can make in your 20s. For me, in my 20s, it was a very formative period of time in terms of learning a lot of new skills as well as exploring and trying things out. However, one of the biggest mistakes I made was not watching my finances. I got heavily in debt, I didn't save as much as I should have, and honestly, I think this is one of my biggest regrets ever because I was running the numbers, and based on my net worth right now versus what it could have been, it is in the tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars. To this day, I'm kicking myself that I didn't save and invest more wisely in my 20s because now I have to play a lot of catch up. So let's go ahead and dive into the 4 money mistakes you absolutely should avoid in your 20s. Mistake number 1 is not having a financial vision and plan. In my 20s, I always felt like all I had to really do is have an emergency fund, which had 3 to 6 months of savings, as well as keep putting money in my 401k to save for retirement. But I actually didn't really have an end goal of where I want to go with my money. I didn't have a very crystal clear vision of the life I want to lead, how I would use my finances to achieve that. And because I didn't have a vision, I didn't really have a plan, and because I didn't have a plan, I didn't execute on anything, and because I didn't really execute on anything, here and there I would put money into my savings, here and there I would try to invest, but for the most part I didn't. What it led to is just really poor savings and investing habits. Now luckily I did put some money in my 401k, but definitely I could have been a lot better with my savings and investments. And the reason why I bring this up is because one of my friends that started saving and investing at the same time I did, he was very frugal in his 20s, and he was very clear about the life he wanted to lead, as well as the financial plan he had to implement to achieve that. And him and I are in very different financial places right now. While I'm not in a horrible place, he's in a place where he's very close to financial freedom or already has financial freedom. And the reason why he was able to achieve that, among other habits, is he had a very clear direction of where do I want to go, what type of life do I want to lead, how do I make my money work for me, and what's the plan to achieve that. And I gotta say, if you don't have any clarity on what type of life you want to live and what type of plan you need, then it's harder to execute on having good savings habits and good investing habits, and that might lead you to having subpar financial results. Now, of course, you don't need to know exactly your dollar figure in terms of what you need to really just be financially free, although you can certainly calculate it and ballpark it. But I would say in general, the more crystal clear you are on the financial direction that you want to go in, as well as the life you want to live, that will allow you to really formulate the right financial plan for your future. The second biggest mistake you can make in your 20s in terms of financial mistakes is having out of control spending. This is a very obvious point, but in my 20s, my spending was a little bit out of control. I'll be dead honest, so after analyzing my past spending, I spent way too much money on clothes, number 1, and number 2 is eating out. And again, I don't want to demonize spending in all forms as well as enjoying your life, because you are human and you should enjoy here and there unless you are heavily in debt. But my point being is I definitely spent way too much money when it came to food, and way too much money when it came to clothes and other crap like electronics that I definitely didn't need to spend that money, and I could have used it towards savings and investing. And if you have out of control spending, this will definitely be your Achilles heel when it comes to savings and investing, as well as saving up for the future. So for me, having out of control spending and not being able to control my spending because it was just very easy to swipe the credit card, that definitely was a big mistake that I made in my 20s. And whatever you need to do to really curb your spending, whether it's creating a budget, using mainly cash to pay for purchases, as well as any other tools that you want to implement, I would definitely encourage that, because if your spending is out of control, part of the battle or part of the plan to have financial freedom is to make sure you're not spending too much money. Mistake number 3. One of the biggest mistakes you can make in your 20s when it comes to finances is to get into heavy debt. Now, I know for a lot of people in America, this is a little bit unavoidable, especially if you have student loan debt. But beyond that, unless you have a medical emergency or student loan debt or something that really necessitated taking out a huge loan or whatever else it may be, I would say having debt will weigh you down. For me, I came into 44K in debt, and it just makes me shudder thinking of it, in 2019, because the 2 years prior, from 2017, I was focusing on my business full time, and I got very desperate, and I kept spending money on courses and coaches to hope that my business would somehow take off. Side note, it didn't. And what ended up happening is I became over 44K in debt. And again, it took me 2 years to pay off that debt. So that means I had 4 years total, 2 years of building the business, 2 years of paying back the debt, where I wasn't really able to have money to put into savings and investing. That's 4 years. That's like half your 20s basically, like no joke. So my point being is heavy debt is crushing to the soul. It will set you back in your financial journey because you're not just like thinking of how to put your money to like invest and have it grow on you, or not grow on you, but like, grow. But you're actually playing catch up because it's like running a race with weight, and that weight is debt. So I would say really, no matter what, as much as you can, and I think most of debt is avoidable, unless again, you went to like a very expensive school or you have student loan debt, I would say really avoid debt. Like, I hate to say this, but like if you need to live at home or if you need to cut down on spending to reduce your debt or like stay out of debt, it's really worth it, because trust me, that gratification you get from spending that money and the perceived benefit of spending that money, it definitely pales in comparison when you have a mountain of debt. The last mistake I made in my 20s, and one of the biggest mistakes you can make in your 20s regarding finances, is to not use the magic of compound interest. I'm not going to belabor this point because it's been covered and beaten to death in terms of the topic, but I would say compound interest is a beautiful thing. The more you invest in your 20s and the earlier you invest in your 20s, the more your money will grow. And for me, as I mentioned before, when I got in debt, that definitely didn't allow me to invest, so that's 4 years basically lost to paying back that debt. My point being is that in your 20s, if you invest early and often, it will really yield dividends, and that dividend could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not maybe even $1 million plus. So that was a mistake I made because again, I had all these poor financial habits, I overspent, I got into debt, and that's something I do not want you to make that mistake, because trust me, it is painful to know that in my 30s, I had to invest more and more often to even hope to catch up to people that invested earlier and invested a lower sum of money. And there's a chance I might not even catch up to them. So if you can start investing in your 20s, the earlier is better. That's it. The 4 money mistakes you should not make in your 20s. Please, please, please follow this advice. Do not make it. I'm trying to make your life easier. If you don't follow it, your life will become more painful. So if you like this video, please smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you have any questions about like financial stuff, leave it down in the comments below. Happy to read them and respond to them or make a video about them in the future. Talk to you all soon.